of fast food establishments to the availability of fresh foods. This is a local market. Now, I recently moved to California, and I was so excited about the idea of farmers markets. Well, if this is what a farmers market is like, you know, I probably wouldn't want to shop there, but if I go to the farmers market downtown, it looks totally different. So a local market. Another grocery store. Notice the barbed wires around the grocery store. So you think about availability of healthy food options, but what this says to me is that there may be safety issues, there may be crime issues. So Tommy Thompson challenges communities after dinner, get out, walk around your neighborhood in the evening. Well, if I lived in this neighborhood, I wouldn't walk around in the evening by myself or with my family. Now, this is a recent establishment in West Oakland, which is an attempt to answer the call to bring healthy food options to this community, which is primarily a racial minority community of low socioeconomic status. And this is a typical convenience store, and I want you to just notice the items on the shelves. So for the most part, you're going to get canned foods and goods. You're not going to get the healthy food options again. So that's just to show you that, yes, environments can constrain your individual choices. And then finally, I'm really going to close this time. I just want to give you some examples of different ecological models. We started by talking about ecological models and ecological approaches to examining population health. We've talked a lot, and I've given you a lot of illustrations about how you can use that approach to really address thinking about the implications for public health research, but also in a more practical sense in terms of thinking about population health outcomes. This is one ecological model which basically is called the social view of health. So the idea is that it's bringing in all of these broad social factors as part of the same underlying construct in predicting population health. So faith and religion is important, culture is important, family structure, employment, economic, social factors. So all of these things to work together to result in certain population health outcomes or to result in different distribution patterns, whether it's by population, geographic area, over time, etc. Here's another ecological model which basically says that the underlying factor are these general large socioeconomic, cultural, and environmental conditions. But in line with that, you have to deal with issues around food, education, living and work conditions, social networks and communities. We talked about Durkheim and suicide and social integration and social cohesion. And then individual behavior patterns. What is your lifestyle? What are your beliefs? What are your norms? What are your practices? And then individual attributes, perhaps your age, your race or ethnic composition. Now this is probably one of the most used ecological models and the most popular ecological models in the field of public health and the field of social epidemiology. George Kaplan is a professor at the University of Michigan in the School of Public Health, and I love this model because it really deals with the layering of social factors. It deals with social and economic policies, institutions. We talked about the fast food industry, neighborhoods and communities, living conditions, etc. So what this really says is that health is multifactorial. It does occur across multiple levels, and underlying it is what? Is the life course. That all of this is happening, all of this is interacting at every stage of life. And so what this means is that it's not going to be one quick fix, that it's going to take very creative and critical interventions, policies, programs, etc., to think about how to start to tackle the various health outcomes or issues that might result from the interaction of all of these determinants. And this is a very simple paradigm, but I just wanted to show it because earlier we talked about the paradigm shift from a biomedical model to more of a biopsychosocial approach. So what this model indicates is that it is the interaction of biology and genetics, biomedicine, with health behaviors and with the environmental context, interacting all across the life course to implicate health disparities, population health outcomes. And then the very last thing that I want to talk about is symphonic causation. One of the key concepts that I said you would understand by the end of this session was this idea of symphonic causation, and we really have already talked about it. It's the idea of biology, context, interactions. And basically, this is just an illustration to show you that whether you're dealing with experience or behavior, or cognitive neuroscience, or gene transcription, molecular cell biology, etc., that it all works together. We are not individual beings. Our molecules, whatever happens inside of our body, that individual pathology, what Durkheim talked about in terms of understanding individual pathology as a function of social dynamics, that this is something real. So this is a relatively new concept in social epidemiology, but it really deals with how our biological attributes interact with our environment. So there's really this kind of biology, context, interaction, and biological susceptibility to environmental context, and vice versa. So with that, I'll close. Thank you, and I'm sure you all have a lot to think about.